Okay, hello students. I hope that everybody is doing fine, and I welcome you all today to one more topic of life processes, that is respiration. So we all do you know the difference between, first of all, breathing and respiration? Okay, so let me bust a myth for you here. We think that breathing and respiration both are same thing, but it is not. Let me explain you. So breathing is the physical activity which is of inhaling the air and exhaling it. So if I'm doing, like, for example, like that, or let me do it from my mouth, like that, right? Taking air in and leaving it out. So that is called as nothing but breathing. One second, let me just take my pen. Yes, so that is called as breathing. Okay, breathing exercises or breathing which we do, normally we do it involuntarily. We do not know that we are breathing, and yet we do that, okay, most of the time. Now, respiration is an umbrella term. If I say something is umbrella term, that means this is a broad term, and under that category only this will come. How does that happen? So after breathing, whatever happens to the oxygen we are taking in, how it is reaching inside a cell, okay, and causing different kind of changes, which causes ultimately release of energy. Okay, this whole process is called as respiration, this complete process. Okay, so respiration is, let me just start here, is biological process by which living organisms release energy from food molecules like glucose. Okay, so breathing is just very small, teeny tiny part of respiration where we are taking air in. Now air goes in, okay, in the and it ultimately reaches the blood, okay, and also the food reaches blood, right? Now the food and the, you can say this the O2, okay, O2 will also, oxygen will also reach the cell. Both the things will reach the cell, and their reaction will happen, the reaction completely opposite to the photosynthesis. So if you can remember the reaction of photosynthesis, it was carbon dioxide plus water gives us, you will say C6H12O6, that is glucose, plus oxygen, right? So this is how the food was prepared. Okay, now this food, again, during cellular respiration, what happens? This food will be again broken down. Once it is broken down with the help of oxygen, which was there coming from our lungs, and then reaching blood, and then reaching a particular cell, and this has also reached the particular cell, what happens is, then again it'll I'm not balancing the equation for now, okay, we can balance next time in classes. So this will release CO2 plus water. This will be released out, like when we are exhaling, then carbon dioxide will be released out, water also being released out in the form of water vapor, or can be used in different parts or different needs. But also here energy is being released. Here the energy was being utilized, right? The sunlight, in the form of sunlight, the energy was, sorry, sun, L-I-G-H-T. Let me just write it again, that is not good representation. Okay, sunlight, right? Okay, so here energy was being taken. Here the energy will be released, just the opposite of this reaction. Now the energy is released. This energy can be used in your growth, in your repairment, in your development, in your movement, while I'm talking, when I'm brushing, when you're reading, when you're dancing, when you're singing, anything you're doing, you need energy, right? And that energy is coming from all this process. Okay, so now photosynthesis only happens in, you can say plants, but this respiration, this happens in plants as well as animals. And animals, you can write both. Okay. Now, why do we need respiration? Like I already told you, for all the life activities. For example, it powers us growth, repair, and movement. Okay, and also enables cellular processes and metabolism. What is metabolism? Metabolism is basically all the sum total of, let me just tell you, sum total of all chemical reactions. occurring in a body. In a body or living thing, living being, you can write. Okay, so whatever reactions are happening, like photosynthesis or respiration or any more reactions, any big or small reactions, that comes under metabolism. Okay, so if reactions are fast, your metabolism will be faster. If reactions are very slow to happen in your body, your metabolism will be slow. Okay, now let's talk about aerobic and anaerobic respiration. There are two types of respiration. So the aerobic respiration means that occurs in the presence of oxygen, and here the oxygen is, it helps to completely break down the glucose and releases maximum energy. Anaerobic respiration means and is like not, so no oxygen is there. Okay, so occurs without oxygen, partially breaking down of glucose from quick energy. So for example, if you're running for a very long time, okay, then you start, or you're doing exercise for a very long time, so after a certain point take the air in very fastly. Okay, you'll be breathing very fast, like that you'll be doing, right? So you'll be gasping for air because there is shortage of oxygen, and in the shortage of oxygen, what happens? Your body starts doing anaerobic respiration. Okay, so for this also we'll talk more about in classes, but for now let's see just the basics of it. So aerobic respiration is like a perfectly efficient energy factor that operates in the presence of oxygen. So it takes up all the oxygen and uses it with the help of glucose to make carbon dioxide, water, and very large amount of ATP or energy. Okay, adenosine triphosphate. That is the energy which is being made and that is being used. Okay. Now, glucose is the primary, you can say raw material. Oxygen is the, again, one more raw material. So, C6H12O6 plus 6O2. Here the equation is being balanced. Okay. In like, does it happen? So, in mitochondria. So, in cells, you might have, okay, this is nucleus. You might have seen, one structure like this that is called as the powerhouse of the cell. Okay, why is it called as powerhouse? Because that is going to produce energy, right? So this mitochondria is the energy factor, you can say, or factory. Okay, this is going to produce energy, and this is the energy currency, ATP. So ATP will be produced here with the help of these raw material in mitochondria, and the products will be 6 carbon dioxide, 6 water molecules, and also 38 ATP. This 38 ATP your body will use for different kind of complex processes to happen, or different kinds of other you can say growth or development. Okay, now if we talk about aerobic respiration, so there are 3 steps to it. Okay, so inside every cell of your body, every cell, are these structures called as mitochondria, and they act as true powerhouses, like that makes the life possible, that I have already mentioned you. Now let's talk about the steps. So first is glycolysis. Here the glucose, because this the equation which I have written, that doesn't happen in directly like in one step. There are several steps to reach from this one glucose molecule to carbon dioxide and water and energy. So that happens in a very many stages and in a very elaborated manner, but that is the shortest way to write that. Okay, now the first step is glycolysis or glycolysis. What is glycolysis? There is glucose, lysis means breakdown. Okay, so there is breakdown of glucose into pyruvate molecules in cell cytoplasm. So in cell cytoplasm only, if it is a cell and this is nucleus, let's say. So in cell cytoplasm is this area, right? So here only your glucose will get converted into pyruvate molecule. I'm not writing the whole thing right now. Beginning the energy extraction process. So here the energy extraction process starts. Now occurs the Krebs cycle. So pyruvate enters the mitochondria. Now this pyruvate will go inside the this is a molecule, okay, one kind of molecule, just like glucose. So this enters mitochondria, where energy rich molecules like NADH and FADH2 are formed through cyclic reaction. There will be a lot of reactions happening here, making NADH, okay, and FADH2. So these molecules will also help in generating some other molecule, I'll tell you. Now, last is electron transport chain. The majority of ATP is produced as the electron flow through protein complexes, creating the energy currency of life. Now, here on the inner matrix, on this wall of the mitochondria, what happens is basically these molecules, on also few proteins are attached here. So those proteins will help the electron to move and generate more and more ATP. Now, this is a very shortened or compressed, way of expressing all this, but we can discuss more in depth in the class, okay? So, right? So this is all that happens. So first your glucose breaks down into pyruvate in cytoplasm. Do remember where it is happening, okay? Then second, Krebs cycle happens where pyruvate is, it enters basically the mitochondria, and there a lot of energy rich molecules are there, like NADH or FADH2, both sort of molecules are there, right? And they also help the pyruvate to again go through ETS, that is ETS or ETC, you can say, electron transport chain. And from that chain, what happens? ATP is formed with the help of, pyruvate being again, the transfer of electrons from one place to another. So that you will see later that how does that work. So one fact is that a single glucose molecule produces around 38 ATP molecule aerobic respiration energy. Okay, and that can, that is enough energy to power thousands of cellular reactions. So thousands of cellular reaction can happen or can take place with one single molecule of glucose. Okay, with this much of energy, lots and lots of reaction are happening in your body. Okay. Now, what is anaerobic respiration? So let's quickly look at this. So anaerobic respiration is when there is no oxygen or there is shortage of oxygen. Okay. In that case, what happens? There is an emergency energy system that is called as anaerobic system. Okay. This is not so efficient, very less efficient, not going to produce a lot of ATP. Okay. But this ensures the survival when oxygen is scarce. So it makes sure that you are still living, you are still breathing and doing all the, processes, maybe at a very slower rate, but yet. Okay, so in human muscles, what happens? Sometimes glucose, like I told you, when you're doing a lot of exercise, okay, so there won't be any oxygen supply to you because you are gasping for air and the oxygen is not reaching every part of your body in that instant only, because there is a limit to everything, right? And you need a lot of oxygen, you are breaking down all the glucose and everything, right? So what happens there is there will be two molecules of C3H6O3 will be produced, that is nothing but lactic acid, and a very small amount of energy, that is 2 ATP. Okay, so this happens in human muscles, and that's why sometimes due to the accumulation of lactic acid, you might get cramps while exercising in your legs and in your hand, and it will become sore and painful, right? So that is because of anaerobic respiration occurring in your body. Now, in yeast fermentation, what happens? So you might have seen yeast cell, or you might have heard about yeast, it is used in cooking a lot. So what happens? Yeast also, break down glucose without the oxygen. What it does here is it gets converted into, the glucose gets converted into alcohol, and it also gets converted into carbon dioxide and 2 ATPs. Okay, so this is very useful in alcohol industry, in brewery industries, right? And then in baking industries for making cakes and breads. So that's how, because there will be carbon dioxide being produced, so there will be a lot of spaces in the bread, right? It will be puffed up, and for alcohol is being produced, so for that you can use it for alcohol based industries. Okay, so anaerobic respiration only produces 2 ATP molecules per glucose, just 5% of aerobic respiration, whereas aerobic respiration was producing 38 ATPs. Okay, sometimes it produces 36 as well. We will discuss in what cases in higher classes, 11th and 12th. We are going to discuss that. Okay, so The examples here, like I already mentioned it to you, for bread making and brewing companies, okay, they use it. So yeast cells in bread dough and beer fermentation use anaerobic respiration to convert sugar into alcohol and CO2, and the gas makes the bread rise, while alcohol creates beverages, okay. And here as well, in human muscle cramps, when you sprint or you do a lot of intense exercise, what happens? You will not get enough oxygen, okay, and then your aerobic respiration mode will switch to anaerobic respiration, producing lactic acid that will cause a burning sensation and a little bit of pain and muscle fatigue, okay. Muscle fatigue means basically a muscle will feel exhausted and tired. Swamp gas production. What happens? Sometimes bacteria in oxygen poor swamps, okay, the areas where there is a lot of water and plants growing on it, what happens, and wetlands perform anaerobic respiration, decomposing organic matter and releasing a certain kind of gas, that is methane gas, sometimes called as swamp gases or marsh gases. So in those areas you will feel very foul smell, right? So that comes from methane gas. Okay, now you can differentiate between the two easily, right? Aerobic respiration, oxygen is required. Anaerobic, no need of oxygen. Aerobic respiration occurs in mitochondria. Anaerobic respiration occurs in cytoplasm. Aerobic respiration occurs in, one step, glycolysis occurs in cytoplasm only, but rest of the major steps, okay? Then end products for aerobic respiration is carbon dioxide and water, and energy will be around 38 ATP. Here the end products are lactic acid or in a human body, and alcohol in yeast, plus carbon dioxide and low amount of ATP, that is only 2. Examples for aerobic respiration: human, plants, animals. Anaerobic respiration: muscle cells of humans or animals, bacteria and yeast. Duration for aerobic respiration, it is a continuous process. Anaerobic respiration is a very short term process when you are running a marathon, doing intense exercise or something like that. Now let's quickly look over, human respiratory system. So let's talk about, first it starts with nostril, okay, from your nose or mouth, okay, and nose and mouth share common passage to a certain extent. From there, it reaches trachea. Okay, so nostril is what? It is the entry point where the filtering, the warming of the air, humidifying begins. Okay, from here, what happens is, why the air is being warmed, you can answer in the comment section if you know, okay, or else we'll discuss it later. Now, if we talk about trachea, so next, part is trachea. Trachea is the main airway that carries air to and from the lungs, lined with the protective cilia. So if you will look trachea, closely, it has cilia, which make sure that if something is going out, it should go out, and it moves like this. Okay, left and right, left and right. So make sure it is pushing things in and out. If dust particle, it is pushing it out. Air, it is pushing it in. Okay, if we talk about lungs, now from here it will reach the lungs. There are more parts like bronchioles, bronchioli, so that we will discuss later. Now the lungs comes. So there are a pair of lungs in humans. Primary site of gas exchange. Here the exchange of gas takes place. So after bronchioles, it gets divided into small alveoli like this, sac-like structure, and here only this is very, very thin. So that's why exchange of gas takes place. O2 goes into blood and CO2 goes out. Okay, and diaphragm. So muscular sheet, here the muscular sheet is there, which helps, which controls the expanding and contracting of the chest. So if this contracts like this, then there will be enough space for lungs to grow more or expand more. Okay, and once it again retracts back, the lungs will also go back to this exhaling position. Okay, so that's how gaseous exchange takes place. So gas exchange magic is basically in the alveoli, oxygen diffuses into your bloodstream while carbon dioxide diffuses out. So this I have already told you, a perfect exchange that happens about 20,000 times per day as you breathe. So that many times, you are exchanging air. Okay, now let's answer this quickly. So energy production, which type produces more energy per glucose molecule, aerobic respiration or anaerobic? This I think you can answer easily, right? Okay, now yeast products. So name the end products of the anaerobic respiration in yeast. Okay, so you have to tell that what it makes, bread and alcoholic drinks. What is the main ingredient there? So that's how you can answer this question. Also, you can answer the end product for anaerobic respiration in humans as well. Try that, okay? And muscle cramp. So there is a question from that end as well. Why do our muscles cramp after running very fast? Okay, so the answer is lying in the second question only. Okay, so what we have studied so far, let's recall a little bit. So we talked about respiration, how respiration is related to the release of energy in our body. Then we talked about aerobic respiration, its advantages, how it is, useful, and anaerobic respiration, how it is alternative to aerobic respiration and what its uses or examples are. And yeah, thank you so much for joining the session. I hope you understood and learned something new today, right? And if you have any doubt or queries, you can ask me here on the comment section, or maybe you can ask me through my Urban Pro profile as well. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.